Oh, back at it again. The meeting is being recorded. We're all live now, guys. Where the three of us don't have a team, but we all, nor belong to a team, but we're still captains of the game, waist deep in the security game, and too famous to vish MGM's mainframes. What's going on, Prabh and Prashant?
Oh, well.
Nothing. It's going good, but yeah, I was busy from last 2 days and covering the news report of MGM data breach and did the one small video and I got a very good response on that. I was surprised, and I thought let's have a discussion on the same. How how we can think like a manager and how we think like a GRC experts or how we think like a security engineer or architect to make sure this kind of incident should not happen again because yes, we following the canons which is defined by the IC2.
Correct. Prashant, what's going
Yeah.
on, man?
So this weekend, got to know about this MGM issue that's happening. To be very honest, I got to know more about it through the video that Prabh published, and it allowed me to do a bit of a research on what's happening around it. And this is one of the kind of use cases on its own. It's one of the like where you have the sophistication meets the security. That is where I can define this. This is one of the most sophisticated ways that I have got to know about the kind of a breaches that's happening. So yeah, it's a kind of an eye opener for a lot of security professionals. There are a lot of best security practices that are gonna inherit out of this, and I can understand being in a part of the industry. I know what it feels to take the hit, but I'm pretty sure people are gonna learn uh, through it, and let's hope for the best.
Nice. And if anybody doesn't know, the three of us are, we're known for like our instructors and our teachings on YouTube, and but we all also have actual like professional jobs. Like we're busy individuals. It took 3 weeks for us to just get together for this because we're all like had delays. So Prab is a GRC consultant, a globally popular and very famous GRC consultant. He's wanted by all companies everywhere. He demands a very high per hour rate. So he's a high level perspective of the GRC. Prashant is a security architect, which means if you guys don't know what a security architect is, it means you have to not just know one thing, you have to know everything because you got to start all that from the beginning. So whatever Prashant says at the beginning trickles down to the actual implementation. And if something goes wrong, it trickles back up to him and he has to answer for that very, very clearly. And I am a network security engineer specifically with firewalls, meaning I really just deal with firewalls. So if it's like a router issue or a switch issue, don't call me. I don't deal with that. You call the knock on that. You call the SOC, you get me. If it's like, oh, my bandwidth is slow, that's not my deal. If your VPN can't connect or you need some sort of access done, then that's my role. We're going to take our three roles and answer kind of how we would deal with the MGM ransomware recently and give our own perspectives. You'll be getting a high level perspective from Prab. You'll be getting a architectural perspective from Prashant. You'll be getting a technical network security suggestion advice on what to do next. And like multi-factor authentication, implementing that, and like access control and firewalls, that's not going to work. They had all that. So we have to go beyond that and give advanced suggestions and next steps. Okay. Prab, do you want to start off from a GRC perspective?
Uh, Before we going to discuss about the GRC perspective, I would like to discuss about this entire incidents, right? So February 8th, this activity was triggered where, the particular hacking group, we cannot disclose a name because it is there in the media, but it's better, keep it confidential.
Yes.
Okay, so there's a particular group on February 8th. They penetrate into the network of MGM, which as per the report, and they itself published that information. What the worry part was that, see, on September 1, okay, Okta already released one vulnerability. Not vulnerability, matlab they receive a multiple information from the respective customers that they're getting targeted by the phishing attack. Now, what is phishing attack? Those who are not aware about that, and the people who are watching this video, those who are not aware of phishing attack is basically phishing is just like a doing a voice calls and predicting someone else and getting the information. Like example, I will mimic like a Prashant voice and speak to Luke and get the information on behalf of Prashant. So Luke will believe that okay, it is a call initiated by the Prashant. So Okta received a lot of issues in a month of August. There are a lot of customers basically facing a phishing attack, and it is a moral responsibility of the Okta. In the September 1st, they have published the report about this issue. And there is a new trend which is basically came out according to the Okta, which I studied, is called as a cross-tenant hijacking. I repeat, cross-tenant hijacking, which is also called as a cross-tenant impersonation. Cross-tenant basically mean you moving from one tenant to other tenant. We have a topic this in CISSP, which is called as a lateral movement attack, which Kerberization and all that. So Okta has observed, where the threat actor use social engineering to attain a highly privileged, roles in Okta customer organization account. If they're successful, then threat actors demonstrate the novel method of lateral movement, and they also exploiting the defense evasions of the systems, and then by which they persist in the system. But when we see the news, the article which is published by the hacking group, how they did that, it was a it was a funny part that it was the same thing what the hacker group did. So somehow they got some kind of a TTP procedures which Okta has published. Might be because if you see the Okta, I will share the URL of that. They have talked about how the process is to compromise the super admin account, then assign the higher privilege. To that they basically gain access. If you see the Twitter post of that hacking group, it was same. I don't know whether you notice. It was completely same. On February 8, sorry, September 8, the same hacking group basically hack into the Okta accounts. From there, they basically hack into the global admin accounts and took control over the network. Now, you need to understand something here is this Okta and Azure AD, it is integrated with the gate access controls, physical access controls, everything. And till 8th of September, nothing was there. It was like a APT, advanced persistent threat. It means the group has persist or penetrate into the network. So they already in the network. Okay. Still, it still is a news how they hack into the network. Some people saying phishing, some people saying vulnerability, but that is not clear. But the fact is that they were in the network on Friday, 8th of September. And the 9th of September and 10th of September, MGM security team took this call, not security team, network engineers. They identify the things. And when they thought, okay, it's not working like that, they are the one who shut down the network. They are the one who shut down the network. Okay, so that was the major concern. And after that, the entire plant was down. Every entire activity was down and all that till September 10. On September 11, when the MGM has involved the security team, the hacking group has took this opportunity, and they basically, what they did, they basically encrypt the 100 EXSI machines in which there's a PI data, CI data, confidential data, everything was there. Even they are not sure what kind of a data they have did, but they have encrypted. So this was a case study. So what we understood here is, lack of awareness was there. Might be, I'm not sure, the client not taken a call when the Okta has released the things. They have not trained people. We have this kind of a pattern. So from a governance point of view, it is a moral responsibility to update the people about this new issues and all that. This is my perspective.
Okay, gotcha.
Over to
Yeah,
you
we all
guys.
have different information of what all went into it. I also read that the group also were able to purchase logins and passwords from a ransomware as a service group of individuals within the company. Then they found those individuals on LinkedIn and then used that profile to call the IT help desk. And they also set up their own identity provider within their Okta server. From a senior level network security perspective, MGM apparently had all their systems trusted. They had trusted systems for their financial systems, to their billing and booking and check-in, to their slot machine server. So 100% of their network trusted their entire network was trusted by each other. To kind of mitigate this risk, there's the old ways of just access lists and firewalls, that's not going to work because they already had it. They have firewalls. Everyone already has that kind of information. Moving forward, next things to mitigate ransomware because they were already, as Prabh says, they're already in the network. They've been in the network for months, is to make assets and resources invisible to the user. And this can be done with the new concepts of just-in-time access, which is used through a privileged access management software, PAM software. This way, if the attackers once gained access but looked for servers, they wouldn't find it. It would be invisible to them. No matter what account they compromised, they would be invisible to that user.
Yeah, actually, sorry to interrupt, Helio. On September 10th itself, they put a conditional access restrictions also, MGM.
Yeah. So like
And through
attribute-based
that
access
they will,
control.
yeah, exactly, conditional access control by which they have restricted the information based on a need to know. That is something is a good action plan they did. But when the moral of the story is that attack is already done. They're already into the network.
Yes,
Okay, so
correct.
preventative control is already failed, and we have to accept the fact is there is no proper corrective controls and recovery control was there.
And everything I just explained, everything going on, would all just the best recommendation from a network security perspective, and if you're looking at a high level, is to do the new concept of zero trust network architecture. If they even did that moving forward, maybe would have mitigated the risk. It wouldn't have prevented anything. Nothing can be prevented, but it would have at least mitigated the risk below just a little bit. They would have they have, there's two MGM locations that I know. There's one in Las Vegas and there's one at Maryland National Harbor. Both were compromised because both systems were experiencing issues. Zero trust be the way to go because they would have a remote endpoint, on-premise endpoint, and a remote endpoint, which would have threat intelligence feeds and conditional statements come into that remote endpoint and sent to the zero trust policy engine. So if they compromise one server, okay, so they use your user account, compromise one server, but that user account would have so many conditional access based on that. Say I am one of the employees and I come in and my business is only from 9 to 5. I work at the hotel front desk. I come in at 9, I leave at 5. Zero trust architecture with ABAC control and just-in-time access. If I try to access something outside that time frame, access would be denied. We'd not have access at that time. If something comes in at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. and I try to access that, I was like, oh, hey, Luke doesn't really work at that time. What's he doing trying to access that? That would be an indicator of compromise. If they had that in and they used zero trust and they implemented threat intelligence, they would be able to investigate those logs. I don't know what their threat intel analysis is, but if they were to use something called Azure Data Explorer with Custo query language, they will be able to look at authentication events, emails, employees, file creation events, inbound browsing, outbound browsing, all the process events. They'll be able to look at analyzing the employees and authentication events, cross-check with file creation, because the ransomware has to be triggered somehow, and give us a number of unique IP addresses within the servers that contain any of that ransomware SHA-256 hash, the hash of the ransomware signature. They'll be able to pivot from one log to the other for a full proper investigation, because the investigation is still kind of going on. With zero trust, you have so many different nodes, logs received from so many different assets that you'll be able to, right now they haven't really explained anything. They'll be in a better position to investigate what is going on. Sandboxing would be another one if the malware is coming in. So some of the stuff I would recommend is, not a lot of companies like to do this, but SSL decryption. If outbound and inbound connection can have SSL decryption, they could send that information to a sandbox, unwrap it there, and see if it contains malware and bring it right back into the network. Sandboxing to the external cloud-based server will give a better way to handle the zero-day attacks, handle any kind of new malware signature that they're not expected to see. The hotel check-in systems, the financial, systems shouldn't have been trusted where they were trusted, and zero trust will make sure none of those systems are trusted.
True.
What do you think, Prashant? Absolutely. I just want to comment on one of the statement that you made before I completely forget about it. So it's a very debatable thing. You actually picked up a very valid point on the sandbox issue, where sandbox can be used for verifying if any kind of a new code, patch, software, system, or any update, whatever it is, it contains malware or not. So it's a very debatable topic that we even not only understand theoretically, but there's a very debatable topic that you go across when it comes to discussion. Should we have an update manual or automated? It's one of the kind of a controversial thing that people emphasizes more on having an automated update, which I agree it should be there because it actually eliminates a lot of manual effort. It also accelerates the patching of the systems. But there are also things like we learned about that ESXi hypervisor servers, which got impacted because of this particular thing. Now, what I feel is, even if it is recommended to have any kind of an update that needs to be, or any kind of a new code that needs to be deployed, it's very important that we evaluate for any kind of a malware. Now that malware could be a 0-day. That malware could be something new that has, for probably we might not have a signature. But nowadays there are very sophisticated anti-malware softwares, like I can name one vendor that does that, Carbon Black. They do the heuristic based scan, which means in case if something is not found in the signature, and if it is not as an identified known valid domains or valid hashes, they're still going to flag it. Probably might require a further investigation or assessment to identify if it contains any kind of a malware or not. So that is very important point that organizations might end up missing out, that whenever you're receiving something, it's very adequate to put it into a sandbox. Let's not even think about a worst case situation that it might contain malware. Malware, we know it could be a case, but there are certain times that it could affect just the, might not be compatible with the existing configuration. It might not function the way we expect. Something might break. So that could affect the availability of the systems. So I feel that's a very, very important point. And I don't know, a lot of organizations emphasizes on this or not, but I do hope the voices get heard by the senior leaders out there, that it is very, very important that irrespective of what comes from anywhere, verify the integrity of the data. It's very important. We always talk about the data classification that deals with confidentiality. We also deals with the criticality of the data that deals with availability. Integrity is somewhere missed out in most of the discussion that we do, but it is very essential that you verify the integrity of the data. The moment it leaves from one system to another, it is very important that you assess, is it the same thing that was sent out, or is it something different? Or in case, we should not forget one of the biggest breaches of the decade that happened in 2020, towards the end of 2020, SolarWind. That happened because of the lack of verification of integrity. Although that was a supply chain attack where the attackers were inside the system, they managed to compromise the private key of the vendor. This company used it to digitally sign the patches, which was rolled out. But in case if they would have, I mean, they verified the signature at the customer's end. The data, the patch were exactly same, despite of the fact it had a malware introduced. But if they would had a sandbox there where they could have assessed the presence of malware, probably a lot would have been reduced. But again, so I think that's a very, very valid point. And the compromise that happened, that also discussed about the ESXi hypervisor servers. That was, I think, more than hundreds of the servers were impacted because of that. Virtualization is one thing that brings in a great flavor of availability. In case of any disaster, we can easily spin up the VMs. It can very easily, but VM or virtualized environment could be a nightmare if it has not been configured well. So configuration is one of the biggest issues. So maybe I might be thinking out loud here. How about having these VM snapshots being backed up into some kind of an offline server, or maybe isolated systems, where in case if my primary systems are being impacted, can we just simply spin up those backup VM snapshots or VM images so that we can at least maintain the availability?
I want to add some other pointers here, Luke, team. Like, one thing is that as a countermeasure is basically disable or disable the admin accounts. Okay, when we teach about principle of least privilege, when we teach need to know, we actually need to implement that. Okay, so there is one new concept is nowadays we have is called phishing reauthentication. Okay, it is also called as a concept of phishing resistant multi-factor authentication, which was missing in the MGM attack. So when you're talking about this phishing resistant multi-factor authentication, I know it is basically a very tension for or super problematic for the service desk to managing multiple accounts. So what happened is you can have a multi-factor authentication, okay, for the critical accounts. Like example, we have a global administrator. In this case, global administrator was compromised. Okay, then we have an application administrator, then we have a billing administrator, we have a conditional access administrator. So whatever the critical roles we have, at least on that you can have a multi-factor authentication. So it means if tomorrow Prashant is basically a hacker and he tried to mimic someone and say, okay, please reset the password and all that, definitely, sir, we'll reset the password. We're sending a push notification on your mobile. Okay. So if he's authorized device, he will receive a push notification, and according to that, he can reset the password. And if he's not authorized, he does not have the device to accept the push notification. Second is we have a callback exercise. So these are basically some of the, I know it's a budgetary issue, but again, we need to understand how many are the critical accounts we have, how many are the admin accounts we have. We can at least enable multi-factor on that. Definitely, we cannot have a multi-factor push notification for all the users, but at least we can have a multi-factor authentication for the critical accounts. That's something we can have. Along with that, you know, uh, we say that okay, so-called visibility and all that training awareness definitely there. One thing we need to identify here is we need to teach the people, don't open the email from the unknown senders. Now, when we claimed, okay, we provide the training. Now, I will tell you, Luke and Prashant, how the employer is conducting a training, how the security team is basically conducting a training. They will simply send a one phishing email, simple sending a phishing email. Today, even if you ask a 6-year-old person, a kid or 10-year-old kid, he know it's a phishing mail. So they're not even using a realistic phishing exercise. We have a levels of phishing simulation test, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. Okay. So example like Prashant is my manager. Okay, let me mimic Prashant voice and see, can I basically call Prashant members and collect the information? This should be a new test exercise should be conducted, because that the era is gone. Now you receive an email from one of the country asking for lottery and all that. Even today, if you ask the non-technical guy, he know about this phishing email. And we're doing the same kind of a test in the, and second way to test the capability of the post security awareness thing, sending the multi-choice practice questions. So we have a 10 questions. Okay, if they answer out of 10 6, it means they are our company is basically well protect with the security awareness and all that. This is not a way to measure the awareness quality. This is my suggestion. So it should be more simulation exercise by which we can measure the number of people have reported the incident. Okay, before awareness training, how many incidents were reported? How after the training, what is the number of training incident has been reported? So that's something we can have. Along with that, on the email sides and all that, keep your email clients updated. That's the most important thing. Don't allow any cyber criminals to take the advantage of zero-day attack. That's a very important thing. Okay, patching is something which is an operational activity. Okay, but today it become a very important requirement in security. So if you think some applications are secure, or on top of it, there is one other application which is not being updated with the new threats and all the new vulnerabilities. So it can be exploited easily. So entire application will be in trouble. Update the DKIM records. Okay. See, on the governance side, we say policy create and all that, but we don't talk about the technicalities. So on the server, we need to have a DKIM record, domain key identify mails. Then we need to have a SPF policies. Then we need to have a DMARC policies. By having these policies on the server will basically ensure only authorized emails servers are sent an email, the emails coming from authorized domain. So automatically it will reduce 60% of effort of the operation team. Okay, so security start with visibility. If your network is basically clean, if your network interface is clean, if your security interface is clean, it is easy to manage. In CSSP, I think Prashant and Luke, we teach the economy of mechanism, keep it simple. Security start with keep it simple. And if you go through the MGM news, MGM report, the network administrator they were shocked. They don't know how to control this particular attack. They were messed up. You can see the video. You can see the news in which they clearly said that okay, they were not able to understand what they need to do, and that's why they have shut down the network. So visibility is the most important thing, and cyber hygiene is the most important thing that you have to do.
Yeah, going in line with visibility, I'll share two experiences. We had a hospital customer. As far as visibility, they made important things invisible and non-important things visible. So they would actually deploy fake endpoints, fake servers, fake users, and fake identity managed providers. And they would make it invisible to, regular users. They would go about their own business. They would never see those servers, port scans and maps. They would never discover those servers. They would only see the servers that they have access to, they have need to know to. So if there was an attacker within the network, and they saw these, they would see the fake endpoints, they would see the fake servers, and once they try to access them, then alerts would be sent off saying, hey, someone's trying to access these servers. It's not exactly a honeypot because we're not trying to trap anybody, but they're just fake servers. They're specific only to people who are not supposed to be on the network. I guess that actually is the
Agree.
definition of a honeypot.
Yeah, that's what. And second thing is that if you think, okay, you have a Okta account or you have any account which is used to control a particular activity better, you can configure that on a private IP. Second thing is basically that the server or the host should be isolated from the other network, so we can have a good network topology here. In the worst case, if someone hack one system from there, no one can able to hack the other system. So physical segmentation is makes sense. So we will see this only when we see the breach, because having a see, verbally we are all three saying is let's have a physical segmentation and all that, but in ground reality it is not an easy way to do the physical segmentation. Okay, we need to have a investment of physical switch, we need to have a separate cost of cablings, modulations and all that. But when we learn from such incidents, we become active. Here you need to add what is the reason of MGM was in a news, what is the reason of this breach is in a news, because it was a very unique case study. For a 3 days they were in the network. Please understand this, they were in the network and they haven't did any kind of a thing till Monday. And it was down not from the hackers group, it was down by the MGM team. So that is the reason this breach is in the news. And before that, I think there's another company called, I think, Kesser Entertainment. They have reported the breach last week only, and their hacking group and this hacking group was the pattern was same.
Pattern was
Yeah,
yeah.
The moral of the
Caesar's
story is
Palace,
that
right?
we
Yeah.
never learn from our mistakes. We never learn from our failures.
Yeah. Or and MGM is like a $38 billion company, and they should have a higher, we always say they should this, but it's not reality. We
And
can
it
say
is,
they should have a
but
higher
Luke,
budget,
it is
but
easy
they're
to say,
not going to.
but Luke, it is. I'm sorry, but it is easy to say we're sitting three of them. We all three call
Exactly.
ourselves as an expert. We
Exactly.
cannot point out their problems because we don't
Yeah.
know what was their reason to have such network.
True.
Might be they having
Yeah.
a legacy systems and all that. So we should not point
Absolutely.
out, but we're just sharing the things which is
Yeah.
actually happened. And
Yeah.
if we are working in some industry, if you're working in companies, make sure we should not face the same which MGM has faced or other company face. That is why we're doing this particular session.
True. I kind of want to talk about the very important aspect that see, I have been preaching this for a very long time that nothing beats training and awareness. This is one of the most cost-effective exercise that we can have. However, having said that, this is also it can turn out to be one of the most ineffective control that we have, right? Because the training and awareness
How?
is all about how we perceive, how we diligently follow, right? It's all about making sure that we should not follow the orthodox way of creating the awareness by sharing the PowerPoint presentation. So October is coming up, right? October is celebrated as a cybersecurity month, awareness month globally. And there are a lot of phishing campaigns that Prabh was talking about that these are the phishing emails. But one important thing that Prabh picked up, that those are again those traditional emails that we receive. And even probably like I can talk about my parents, they are not very much well versed with the technology, but they can even tell that this is one thing that I should not have access, I should not click on that email or a link, right? Because these are the ways through which people normally have gone through it. I was reading one of the wonderful where the role specific target phishing campaign is being run, which means, for example, let's say I'm a security architect. I would be getting emails that is very closely associated to the work I do in my day-to-day job. And that will specifically pick it up if I end up clicking on that link or not, or if I go ahead and report that thing as a phish. So there was one thing that happened, that there was a field employees who go on travel, meeting clients and sell the products or maybe marketing thing. So the organization rolled out that, hey, you guys have been traveling a lot, so you can go ahead and redeem your gas expenses here. And this is something you need to download the voucher, you need to show it to the petrol pumps or the fuel pumps, and they can. And they ended up clicking, and it was a phishing email organized by the organization, run by the campaign was run by. But what I liked is it was specific to the job roles, because on LinkedIn everybody wants to talk about what exactly they do. Might not be very detailed, somewhere would be basic about it. Okay, for example, I'm a security architect, someone is a GRC consultant or network security engineer. In a particular organization, these roles are very much, no matter what organization we work for, the roles are pretty much same, right? It's very, very easy and convenient for the attackers to identify what exactly these people do. And it's very important. I think Prab picked up a very, very prominent point, the multiple levels of the sophistication we need to include in our own phishing campaigns. Gone are those days when people would be someone in one of the countries, their grandparents left a lot of wealth and they are very kind to share their half of the wealth with you. Hand over hand over your account number.
Yeah.
Maybe you won $1 billion lottery from Coca-Cola. That could be there. So the idea is, it's very important that we deal with these. And I know some of the companies, I don't want to name them, but they take the phishing campaign reports very seriously. So as a part of repercussions, what they do, they take off the internet access for the people who end up clicking those links as a warning, and it might even lead to termination. It might sound little harsh on them, but I think it's okay to do that. Understand? I mean, I might sound a little pessimist here, but understand that as an organization, it's very important that we take care of our data. We are the custodians. We are the ones who are supposed to take care of the data. So if we fail to do that, and if we are becoming a victim of those things, despite of the fact the organization is telling you that, hey, don't click on these emails, don't click on these emails. And if you end up doing this multiple times, if you're a repeat offender multiple times, I know it sounds a little weird, but it might lead to termination. So I don't know if this can be a new norm in the organizations, that in case if you don't exercise these phishing things diligently, this could lead to some kind of a severe consequences.
And you said something earlier about security awareness training and multi-factor, and I'll share a story. You're right. We can't do the same training, security awareness training, over and over again because people are getting used to it. So we had an incident. This is like way before 2020, 5 years ago, where my manager was in Japan. Okay, he went on Japan for vacation, and he left his work phone at home. We all have multi-factor authentication. He left his work phone at home, and the remote endpoint is done by a firewall vendor company. I'm not gonna say which one, but what happened was there was some sort of error on the firewall, so it kept pinging his work phone to authenticate for two-factor authentication. So it'd send a message to his work phone, and the work phone at the front screen would show, please accept or deny this authentication request. Please accept or deny this authentication request. And this authentication request to his work phone went out for like 50, 60, 70 times. So it's kept ringing and kept ringing and kept ringing. And he was in Japan, but his mom was at home. And his mom saw this phone, saw his work phone, kept dinging and dinging with authentication attack, kept dinging to authentication to the remote endpoint client to log in through the firewall to the servers. And she couldn't take it anymore. She'd hit deny, but it would just, it would just come back up again, come back up again. And then eventually she did press accept. She accepted the multi-factor authentication and it authenticated him through the firewall. Legitimate connection, nothing crazy. Then we get an alert because we have things set up saying, if you're not on duty, you shouldn't be accessing so-and-so server. So we get a alert saying our manager accesses server. We're like, oh, what? Why is he working on vacation again? So we sent him an email. We woke him up in Japan time. He says, hey, we're seeing this and this and this. Is that you? And he said, no. So that sent a shiver down our spines. Like, this is not good. I was like, where's your work phone? He's like, it's at home. So he called his home and he talked to his mom, and he explained, it's like, yeah, my mom heard the multiple authentication events and she got tired of hearing that. So she accepted it because it wouldn't stop off after denying it. So she accepted it and it was fine. And that group that attack MGM, they specialize in this kind of attack. It's called multi-factor authentication fatigue. So they kept pinging the fatigue. They keep pinging the device in hopes of two things. Either you accept accidentally, or you accept because you're getting tired of it and you want it to
pissed
end.
off, yeah. And this is the same happened in past 2 attacks also. You're right.
Yep.
And we could have never, ever thought of that as a training exercise. But after that happened, we made that a training exercise. Like we would ping other people's authentication devices multiple times just to see if they accept or deny and take it from that. Because that itself became a training. Our real world experience became the training.
Awesome. That's a wonderful point. And a lot of organizations have adapted the multi-factor authentication capability, which is good. But again, if we have some kind of a sophisticated attacks like these, it's not going to be a full proof of solution. Even if you have a defense in depth, you have another layer of protection. these conditional access working, you have the machine certificates, you have the authenticator apps running in. But in case if these kind of a sophisticated attacks comes in, probably it will be a nightmare. And I remember there was a lot of people who prepare for CSSP, they watch Kelly's video on why you would pass CSSP, right? And there's one of the pointers that she mentions, and it still lies true today, and it will remain true for eternity, that how much security is enough? Just enough. You cannot have that thing, like no matter what you do, you will always have a limited scope of something that needs improvement. So that thing is actually a true thing.
True, I agree. But I want to add one technical aspects here. You pick any ransomware attacks in the past. You can pick any. Okay. When we're talking about a TTP procedures and all that, right? So we have a 3-way to gain access to any network. Okay, please try to understand this. One is called external remote access, external remote services. The second, you can say by exploiting a public-facing applications, and third is basically by phishing. You pick Conti, you pick Clop, you pick Hive, you pick Logbit, you pick Blackcat. One thing you will see common, the way they have access to the network was external remote services. They exploit the remote RDP application vulnerability, and through that, they basically gain access. Two things happening, and they targeted only the admin accounts. So admin account is already enabled with RDP. So when we're talking about the best practices and all that, you should disable the RDP on this such kind of a servers. And if you really want to access, it should be accessed through any jump server. Okay, so that's something you can do that instead of having a direct access to the RDP. This is the blunder people is doing in the network. So my suggestion to everyone is, if you hold a sensitive data, first of all, that should be part of a completely different LAN network. There's no outgoing data from there. There should not be any outgoing traffic. Incoming is okay, but should not be outgoing. Because in ransomware, guys, we have a two kind of a thing. One, you gain access and encrypt and data is there itself. And one is called double exhaustion, where they encrypt and they pull the data also.
True.
So even you pay the ransom, there's no assurance that your data is secure, because tomorrow it can be go on a dark web. So this is a new trend which is happening in the last 2-3 years, double exhaustions.
Yeah.
So one thing you can do, either you can have a incoming connection to just pull the data. Okay, sorry, push the data, and outgoing should be disabled. Okay. Second is, on that particular system, they should not have a direct RDP connection from external site. I believe if you can able to disable the RDP service access, and you disable the PowerShell scripts and all that, disable the auto script on the browser, 90% of the attack can be solved there itself. This is my assumption. Might be I'm wrong, but this is what I've seen the pattern.
There's three things.
Yeah.
There's three things we should all take away from this that we have to try to prevent. This is prevention, not detection. First, try to stop it at the perimeter. Treat it like any other malware. Second, stop the attacker from moving to different accounts. And third is to reduce DLP, which is what Prabh just held on. And the other thing this group is really good at doing is, they have command and control centers that are actual monitoring connections. So what they do is take advantage of Windows signed device drivers for free monitoring software. Companies try these free monitoring software, but in reality, the monitoring software itself is a command and control connection. So they would compromise the account, and they would exfiltrate the data out, and they would do it under a connection that looks perfectly legitimate. Oh, it's just our free monitoring tool. It's not anything suspicious. So you wouldn't even notice that as being suspicious. So as Prabh said, and as I'm saying, monitor the outbound connections, and all outbound connections, whether legitimate or not, and use SSL decryption if you can to see what data is coming out, to see if your bandwidth pipe is expanding because of unusual amount of data going out. And something else I wanted to touch upon is all the high-level privilege accounts that were compromised or they were authenticated. They may have, again, to use zero trust, you can add an additional layer of authentication or verification, which I noticed Microsoft implemented a few weeks ago. Instead of that CAPTCHA icon, or which one is a street light or which one is a bicycle, they have something different. It's audible. So now they say, listen to the audio, and to prove you're not a bot, tell us which one sounds like drums playing. So they play audio one that's piano playing, and they play a second one that's a violin, and they play a third that's drums playing. And you as a human being have to decipher which one is the drums and press 3 for drums. And that way you can authenticate and verify your identity forward. Because the machine may not be able to identify which one's a piano, which one's a violin. So you're using your own ears to authenticate through and verify yourself.
I agree.
All right. And that's also the thing that we talk about in the SIVs. Commercial off-the-shelf software that caught. So memory monitoring software, free trials, be careful of those. Even if they're signed by the vendor, digitally signed by the vendor, be careful and monitor those even more. Use SSL decryption on those just to be sure. And again, we say to use all this. These things cost a lot of money. SSL decryption, you got to revamp your whole network. Yeah, it's effort, it's time. And a lot of people know how to configure it just right. And you have to be careful not to decrypt like financial and health information. So as we said earlier, like we can say all the things we want, but we don't really know what the company, why they implemented the stuff they did. And we should give them the benefit of the doubt. Just because they got compromised doesn't mean they had the worst security in the world. They could have had the best security in the world.
True.
I agree.
APTs are just meant for those things. I have a kind of a question. So if I understood correctly, the entire pattern of the compromise that happened, Okta was their identity as a service provider, and they started receiving the initial phone calls to their help desk to reset the super admin passwords. Is that correct? Is that what
My assumption is it's basically what I observe is it's the service desk team which handle the overall accounts in MGM.
Okay.
Okta is a SaaS solution, right? So they're giving
Right.
you admin portal to the service team.
Okay.
I don't think so. They have outsourced their entire service account to Okta.
Right. And these they reset it, and did they not follow the proper like protocols of how exactly the accounts? I mean, see, for example, let's say I'm trying to understand the directory services we have, the global root directory services that we have that is used to manage the identities for the entire organization. If someone has to reset that credential, ideally those credentials are normally, or it should be managed into some of the privileged account management solution like a break glass account, that in case if something goes down, I would probably retrieve my credential through those secure vaults rather than letting a help desk person to reset those accounts, because that is not an ideal approach from an architecture perspective, from a generic security best practices. Because in case if the global root account is being reset by some kind of an administrators, that is, I mean, a kind of a mess, because that needs to be secured with the highest level of security.
And have you ever seen any website which give you the complete information about how Okta was configured, how Okta is providing a features to MGM and all that?
No,
right?
No.
Let me show you something.
IC Square used to have Okta as their identity as a service provider.
Can you just guys click on the link which I shared?
Yeah.
Okta has published the entire experience about how the MGM is using Okta.
Okay.
What?
When did they release that?
It was the old details in the website.
Yeah. Okay.
Can you see that?
Gotcha. Yes.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
They have explained
so
the
that was
entire
part of their marketing plan. I see. So they marketed like this is exactly how MGM is handling Okta. Look how efficient they are.
This is called as a OSINT, open source information gathering.
Yeah. Maybe they should stop doing that moving forward.
See, I compromise my India Sri Lanka final match only for this, because I was actively involved and doing a research since yesterday around 2 p.m.
You could have watched that match that wounded up in 30 minutes. I mean, Sri Lanka scored 50 runs, India scored 51 in just 4 overs. So you could have spent like they won the match in like less than 30 minutes. So it wasn't a very lengthy match that you missed.
Oh, wow. I know Bangladesh won recently, right? I was part of that. I don't know how cricket is played still, but I know that when Bangladesh won, everybody make sure to tell me. This Okta page with MGM. See, everyone talks way too much. They're a little too proud of all their products and showing off their marketing and who their customers are. You know how companies like say, our customers are all these, our customers, and this is how they do it. Here's a case study of how well our application was used by other customers. You just kind of keep that under wrap. Just say, yeah, we have customers that are in the casino and resort business. No need to identify exactly who they are.
Oh,
Guys, well,
this is crazy. This is crazy. Simple as pie. They have
yeah, and I
marketing.
asked you guys. Our initial conference was supposed to be about ransomware and how to answer that in a job interview forum, and that was supposed to be 3 weeks ago, and we all prepared kind of for that. And then just last night, I asked these guys, I'm like, "Hey, I knew we had a whole setup done, but do you want to talk about this MGM one just in case, since it seems to be the most relevant?" And that's where we took it from now on. Next time, we'll talk about how to answer things from a job interview perspective, because I think that's one of the topics we really wanted to hammer in because of our three diverse backgrounds.
True.
Do we want to save that for next time?
Oh yeah. We truly want to do that because I know I get a lot of queries on LinkedIn or probably on different platforms that they want to shift their career from whatever they're doing right now. They want to shift it to security architecture. So they want to understand how things work in architecture. A lot of people have a kind of a misinterpretation or misconception about how does the architecture function work. They assume it's going to be highly technical. To be honest, it's not. You work very close to the business. You work very close to the people who are just going to enable who want to get their work enabled. You're just here to help them doing the things in a right manner. So yes, it requires a fundamental understanding of technology, but you just need to be maybe understanding their requirements, communicate effectively, and you need to know who all are the different stakeholders, different key players in your security who can help them. So making sure that every different functions in security are gathered and they all know what needs to be done. So that's what most closely an architecture role is. So yes, but I definitely want to understand maybe a kind of a case study very similar to what we have just discussed, and probably how you need to drill down from GRC perspective, from network security perspective, and from a security architecture perspective, how to drill down those kind of a case studies.
But before we wind up for today session and all that, two things I want to tell you guys here. It is basically the knowledge for the subscribers who are watching our video. Whenever you get impacted with the ransomware and all that, you have a chance to investigate a ransomware. We have a two-way to investigate. One is called static and dynamic. Static is basically all about deep pen test into the file, analyze the file hex editors, string analysis, identify the file name, file patterns, and all that. Or second option is basically dynamic analysis, where you can keep the file in a virtualization with the help of Wireshark, monitor the behavior, identify to which IP they're connecting back, which is called C2C server. So by this, you get a visibility. Okay, what is the target servers which pulling a data, and then you update those IPs in your threat intel or firewall solutions. Because I want to add this because this is normally asked in the interview. How you investigate ransomware.
Yeah, correct. And in this whole situation, I just want to say that MGM, their IT help desk, the service desk, the security team, I'm sure they're us. They're one of us. I'm sure they're doing a good job. I'm sure this is incident. They're a big target. I'm sure they're handling it really well. And they could use. Everyone's kind of harsh, like they had to compromise the systems, which is true. You should have better due diligence, due care, but it's going to happen at some point. And we can't look at the bad guys as the group as, oh, they did something really bad, because of them, they're learning new weaknesses in their system. It's giving us something to talk about. So it's a little bit of good and bad. I don't know how to really approach that as a security professional, as a CISSP. Ethically, of course, we don't condone ransomware or any of those events, but it is a great learning opportunity, I gotta say, for all parties involved.
True.
And the beauty of this scenario is that the three of us provided our three different perspectives and how to handle that. And that's exactly what it takes to have a good security architectural plan. And it's not just network security. It takes the banding of all three of these teams and people to create the fortification necessary to withstand hardcore cybersecurity threats like this.
Agree.
All right. So you guys want to apply for jobs at MGM? They have like remote cybersecurity positions. I'm sure it's open. I'm sure it's we'd have a great time. Imagine Prabh, Prashant, Luke as working for MGM, the new team that comes in. They would probably blame everything on us.
Okay, so yeah. So
Nobody wants the job of going in and fixing this. Nobody wants that. I mean, you saw the
Right.
CISO deleted his profile, right? It's
Yeah.
there's a lot of answering to do. And thing is, it's like guys like Prab who's gonna have to answer the high level question, who's gonna be ultimately responsible. Me, I'm just gonna be like, hey, I did what you guys told me. I don't have to do anything else. It's technically I pressed buttons and I did what you guys were telling me. You guys handled the news.
I'm only concerned is if tomorrow Prashant asks me any question or Luke asks me any question on that technical area, I will be vanished. That's why I have to be mentally prepared for better topics.
That's why you have
guys
us.
are my threat.
That's why you have us to support the technical aspects.
That is
and we have
why.
you for
So
the high level.
when it comes to you guys, I the 0-day vulnerability is there, so there is no solution.
To be
Don't
very
worry, man.
honest, I mean, I genuinely feel from the bottom of my heart, I genuinely feel concerned about those individuals who are right now working day and night in that organization to fix
Definitely.
things.
Definitely.
You don't know, probably. I mean,
What
of
they've
course,
been
you
through,
guys
yeah.
know. Yeah, we probably don't know what it takes to be on the other side at the receiving end of these things. Only people like who have worked into mostly like in SOC. If you have in a SOC background and you have literally practically faced a breach, it's a kind of a nightmare that you're going through. You just hope that this gets over. It's one of the most excruciating thing that goes around. It's not something that there's no one like physically torturing you, but it's just like a kind of a chaos work environment. You want to be alert all the time. I've been into SOC environment. I've been into some of the practical breaches. It's something, one of those environments that you want to make sure that you are absolutely up on your upfront, taking care of these. I mean, because they're customers who are involved, right? The customers' data would be involved, and then you have to deal with the regulatory requirements to deal with these breaches. You have to report. You also have to make sure that you recover the failed systems. You also have to make sure that you report it to media, report it to senior management, report it to investors. There are a lot of things that goes on. I can
And one worst part is that everyone is talking about why this happened, how this happened. No one talk about how to overcome that.
True.
Because that's hard. It's hard to talk about how to overcome it. Everyone wants to talk about easy stuff.
It's
what they hear, right?
See, my if you see my video also, the last one I talk about the countermeasure. People have this kind of a thing. Okay, any breach come, just copy paste the URL. Arey yaar, let's explain about why this happened. So it can be a knowledge awareness for everyone, not for only likes and comments. You should basically just post any kind of a breach link and all that. You should be also
able to talk about it.
Able to talk about. That's why we
Yeah.
took the courage and we all three are talking about that. No matter, okay, we have a 70% knowledge, but at least we're presenting 70%. We are sharing our perspective. We're taking all the time.
Yeah, and we're doing this like on the fly. We didn't have. I mean, we researched it, but we didn't research for like 7 days. We're just going with our experience. This is over. Like I pinged these guys at 11 p.m. last night, which was 7 a.m. their time. We've been working on it ever since. And Prashant, like
it
I'll
was
tell
a
you,
crisis.
It was a crisis event, right? And Prashant, I'll tell you, I've been in data breaches that sucks when that happened. And I'll tell you one thing: what those situations show. Those situations show who the real security professionals are.
True.
Are they the ones who go home and says, "I'm done with this. I've done my job"? Are they the ones who actually talk so much where they start saying things that are just nonsense and you realize they don't really know anything? Or are you the quiet professional who works, looks at the threat logs, find clues, and finds indicators of compromise to find out what happened? The group that I work with, even if I know I'm not going to sleep for the next 24 hours, I know that the people I work with, in the end, we will find a solution. We will find what's going on, no matter how long it takes. So that end game I know is going to be there, even though it seems like it's hopeless at the beginning. So to all the security professionals working out there to figure out what happened, if you're working with really good people, you're going to find a solution in the end. It's going to be all right. You're going to get over it. Yeah. And thank you for working and doing your job and
absolutely,
taking care of business, being a professional.
True. I cannot emphasize enough. It takes a lot of courage to be a part of this industry alone. It's not an easy job. It's one of the, I believe it's one of the thankless industry that we work in, where you're only appreciated, or not even appreciated
when there's success.
Yeah, where you're only picked up when there's a breach. Otherwise, Nobody's going to talk about when things function normally. No one is going to ask you that, hey, you did a good job. You will be pointed
Exactly.
out when any kind of a breach is going to happen. So
If
this
you
is
did, if you made a mistake, you're popular. If you did your job, nobody knows who you are.
nobody knows who you are. Yes,
That's
and
when a
that's
security is a liability till is not a breach.
not a
And when
breach.
it's become
Yes,
breach, then it become value.
Yeah, our whole
yeah,
job is a liability. Just working in this is a liability to our
Yes.
ego and
yes,
our self-esteem sometimes.
yes.
Agree.
It's one of those industries. So I have a huge respect for everyone who is right now in that office taking care the kind of phone calls from the customers, from the media people, from their senior management who do not understand technology, who do not understand security, and they're trying to explain. I
And
generally
and
feel
the
for the CISO that
and
who's
the
trying to
hotel staff who have no
right.
idea what cybersecurity is.
What's
You
that?
got like 68-year-old Betty trying to explain what a cybersecurity incident is to like tourists coming into Las Vegas, Nevada.
Right. Yep. I mean, I understand we spoke about a lot of things, but this is something I genuinely feel uh I'm kind of genuinely concerned about the upcoming days that they're going to go through. It's not going to end soon, but yes, one thing is sure, it's definitely going to end. And this this and many other events has given a lot of learning. Probably like when I teach about advanced persistent threat, I always talk about that the normal threat scenario is just you have to be a little more secure than the rest of the organization. But in
Yeah.
advanced persistent threat, even if you're the most secure organization, you will be definitely one of the victims because the attackers have a definite target in their mind and they are going to go ahead and because failure is not the option. I read the statement in one of your activities, Luke, that you published in APT questions. You have this verbiage, right? The failure is not the option for the APTs. So yes, so right, like Prabh mentioned that we don't know what kind of a state of mind was there on choosing what exact security posture that they chose. Why did they choose this? Why they have this? There would be legacy systems. There would be many other thought factors, budgeting issues. But yes, whatever happened, it has happened. Now it's time to make sure that everybody take a lesson from this and we all become kind of a better version of what we were yesterday. So that's all I have.
Agree.
Thank you to the security professionals, and dare I say, thank you to the opposing force for their insight as well. Not like the best way, ethical way to go about it, but they provided a tremendous amount of what's possible out there.
True.
That's knowledge too. I don't know how to really approach that, but it's it's there. That comment is there.
Yep.
All right, guys. It took so long for the three of us to get together. Like,
Yeah, it's 1 hour.
yeah, like
More
the
than
three of
1
us
hour,
just to
yeah.
get together. I don't know how people talk about conspiracy theories where a whole group of people like plan together to pull this off. The three of us couldn't get on a conference call for like 3 weeks. We couldn't even manage that, much less like 10, 20, 100 people. I don't know about that.
No, we'll make sure, we'll stick to
Oh, we're
schedules and
busy,
all that.
Prabh. We got things going on. What happens yesterday might not happen again today. We understand.
Mm.
But as long as we get together, I get to see you guys. We get to chit chat, talk about our profession. It's good stuff.
It's always
But we'll increase the frequency, yeah.
Yes. All right, guys.
So team, do let us know in the comment box, what is the next topic you would like to discuss. We three of them will work hard on that topic and we'll make sure we're able to generate a value for you guys.
Give us your most difficult questions, most difficult
Exactly.
topics you can get. We'll take it
Yeah.
on. Okay. We can't promise the best answers, but we will promise answers to the best of our ability.
Exactly. We are here for you guys because for us, the first thing is that trained people on the particular skills, and we are here for that. So do let us know what is the next thing you want from us. But one thing is that we will not going to promote any vendors, products, and all that. We are here for the vendor neutral solutions.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk about what we do on and like the last 2 weeks. I don't know. Prabh is out of country where he's at, but I don't know if you guys noticed, but on LinkedIn, like when people, there's a whole bunch of people that pass their assist. Our three names were on there consistently on there. I was like, I smile every time. Like, look at Prabh and Prashant, just helping people so much. It's really good to see that. We don't talk much, but we see our names together on so many posts. It's just a really good group to be with you guys.
Same here. But no one have seen our hard work also, because when people are enjoying the weekends, Luke is preparing a question bank. When people are enjoying the weekend, Prashant is basically making his memory palace.
Thank
on
you,
weekends,
Prabh.
me getting so no one basically analyze our hard work what we did.
You know what?
Okay.
Thank you for that recognition, dude. I know you understand that. Thank you for that recognition and knowing that is what I do and knowing that how long it takes to make the videos and the crafting. I appreciate that, bro. Thank you for that recognition.
That's true. That's what happened. Like, I don't think so. We have seen our weekends anytime. I'm sure about Prashant because Prashant is taking some time things and all that. So I don't know, how easy for us. At least for me, I work 7 days. When I ping Luke also, he work on the weekends on content with Prashant also the same. So yes, we have a mindset. We are basically, we've seen, but one thing we have discovered that okay, we maintain that nature. We not went to the next level. We say yes, we are in this level. No one can come to know. We want everyone to
No,
become with us
no.
together.
Yeah.
That what we see in that.
We don't compete, we collaborate. That's
Exactly.
how it goes.
That's the point.
You know?
Collaboration is most important.
Correct.
Okay,
All right,
guys. Okay.
Thank you again, guys. We'll discuss it, new topics next time.
Done. Great.
Sure.
Good day, Triumvirates.
Bye.